All right, so everything that I just played was all played using just one scale over one chord, but it was demonstrating the 5 positions of the CAGED system. So we started down low on the fretboard and worked our way up, and that's what we're going to talk about in this week's lesson. We're going to look at each of those 5 positions, and I'm going to give you some licks and some examples of things to play within each of those 5 positions so you have something to practice. And I think this is one of those missing components when we talk about the CAGED system. A lot of times people just think about chords, or if they do think about scales, maybe they know the scale, but they're not sure what to actually play. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is I'm trying to give you something that you can sit down and you can practice. There's a little jam track you can practice along with and kind of get those positions into your thoughts and get them under your fingers so that when it comes time to improvise, you've got some things that you can start to use right away. So in this video, we're going to go through the first 3 shapes. If you'd like to watch the second video, which goes through the last 2 shapes, and also download the tablature for everything and the MP3 jam track, you can get all of those extras by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP524. Okay, so we're going to be playing all of this in the key of B, but that doesn't mean we're limited to the key of B. It just means we're, in this example, we're going to be doing B. And I chose B because it was kind of a good region of the fretboard. If we start down here, we can work our way up and not go too high for those of you that are on acoustic guitars, so you should be able to follow along. But you can, one of the things that I love about this is you can take the 5 shapes of the CAGED system and you can slide them all down and switch keys that way, or slide them all up and switch keys that way. So once you understand the shapes and the positions, of the scale that we're going to be talking about, you can easily pivot and get to whatever key that the song is in, even without somebody telling you what key. You can just kind of feel around until you find a match, and then you can be in the right key. So we're going to be in the key of B as we play through this, and we're going to be playing B Mixolydian mode. That's not 90% of what I'm playing here is Mixolydian mode. There's a few examples where I play the minor pentatonic scale, but the rest is Mixolydian mode. All that means is we're playing the B major scale, but we're flatting the 7th. So that's what it sounds like. You go up to the 7th interval and you flat it. If you want more information on Mixolydian, I don't want to spend too much time on it in this video because I'll just bog it down, but I will put 2 lessons up that are a great prerequisite to this that talk about the 5 positions of the major scale, which is all Mixolydian is anyway. It's just understanding that. And then modes and how they work. Mixolydian is one of the 7 modes. The other thing I'll say about modes is you don't really need to bother with all 7. I mean, for the most part, there's like 3 of them. This is one of the 3 that you're really going to be using. All right, so I started off playing my B chord down here using the A shape. Now, I say the A shape because if you think of your A chord, probably the first A that you ever learned down in first position looks like that. You just slide it up 2 frets, and you can use that same shape using your index finger as a capo. You can play it all over the fretboard. That's our A shape. Now, the way the CAGED system works is it follows that order, C, A, G, E, D. So what's after A? C, A, G. Okay, so the next one will be G. And then the next one after that is E. And then we come up to the D shape. And then we go to the C shape. So it doesn't really, you don't always have to start on C. I'm just saying that because I have had questions about that. You can start on any of them. It doesn't matter. But if you wanted to go sequentially, that's how you would do it. You would go, in that order. So we're starting with this A shape, playing our B chord using the A shape. The first thing we want to do is connect the Mixolydian scale, B Mixolydian scale, to this shape. So check this out. Picture this shape. Look, I've got a finger here on the 2nd fret. I've got a finger here on the 4th fret. But watch this. That's really all you need to know of it, is that. It's a very symmetrical pattern. I'll put the tab up on the screen so you can follow it that way. You can pause this video and kind of go through it if you want. I'm not going to call out each note. But that's the B Mixolydian. Now some of you are going, wait a minute, I've seen this before. This pattern looks familiar. Well, remember, all these modes are just the major scale. It just depends on where you start. So you're probably thinking about E major. This is the E major scale. B Mixolydian is E major. That's all I'm going to say about that, but you just have to trust me. But we're not thinking E. We're thinking about B Mixolydian with that flat 7. Okay, so now that you know what we've got, let's listen to that first part, and then we'll talk about what I'm playing. All right, so for the timing of this, I came in on the 3. If we were counting this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, you'd come in on the 3 like 1, 2, 3. So that's how I started. Now, some of you are going, wait a minute, what are these notes? Now notice I'm starting on the 4th string here, but it's fret 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm using those fingers, index, middle, ring, pinky. Do the same thing on the 3rd string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is going to be your first little takeaway that you can connect to your A shape. Is this lick, and I got this comes right out of the bluegrass playbook. I hear this all the time. I love this lick because it sounds kind of jazzy and sophisticated. That's because it's chromatic, meaning we're playing each note along the way. It's really just that Mixolydian thing, but I'm throwing in those extra steps in between. That one, and then this one. You can do that. Just remember, you don't want to hang out on those extra notes, those chromatic notes. They're just passing notes. But that's how I'm starting it. 1, 2, 3. Now here's the takeaway part though. If there's a chord going behind you and you wanted to kind of walk up to this B note here, you could do it like this. Isn't that cool? That's one little lick that you can walk away with, but connect that lick to your A shape. So we started with that 1, 2, 3. Now after that I went. That's just strings 2 and 3 on the 2nd fret and then on the 4th fret. And remember when we started that chord, I said I've got 1 finger on the 2nd fret, 1 finger on the 4th fret. Look at what's going on there. 2nd fret, 4th fret. And so if when you're playing that Mixolydian sound, that's a great little thing you can do, a little harmonized third between the 2nd fret and the 4th fret, obviously there for that B chord. All right, so this next lick just takes that Mixolydian scale and just walks right down it like this. So look at that. So I started here. I've got my ring finger on the 5th fret 2nd string and then my middle finger on the 4th fret 1st string. So I hit both of those notes, right? Because they're right out of that shape that I showed you, that Mixolydian shape. And then down to the 2nd fret on the 1st string. And then this is where we're going to come down to the 2nd string and just walk right down. So. And then I come down to the 2nd fret 3rd string and then to this note, which is in that Mixolydian scale or pattern. And I'm going to do a half bend on that 1st fret 3rd string to bend up to the note I just played. I love the sound of that. That's another little takeaway. Anytime you're hitting a note, you can always go down 1 fret and bend up to the note that you just played. That's a country thing that happens a lot. So. Okay, so then I concluded with, now that's minor pentatonic scale. So this is where I broke out of the Mixolydian thing. But I wanted to show you, I thought it'd be good to work in a few spots from your A shape here. You need to know where your minor pentatonic, some of your minor pentatonic licks are, right? Well, this would be pattern 4 of your minor pentatonic scale. Notice this right here, 4th fret 3rd string, right? That's your B note. So there's your little anchor, right? And there's your minor pentatonic scale pattern 4. Oh, connect those dots. So when you're playing your chord shape here, I don't even want to say B chord, this shape, you've got... And then you've got... Right? Now that's a lot of information just there. It doesn't seem like much, but you could really start to run with that and get all kinds of ideas. There's little half bends and minor pentatonic, and it's all just material that lives right off of this A shape. All right, so now we're going to move out of the A neighborhood and we're going to move up to the G neighborhood. Remember, G is our next neighbor. So what I love about these two neighbors is they share this little triad. So where my pinky was, barring on the 4th fret, strings 2, 3, and 4, I can just replace that with my index finger. And look at this, I can put my pinky up here to the 7th fret. And now I'm playing my G chord shape. Now I realize that the proper way to do it would be something like this, which is like impossible to play. Nobody really ever uses that. But you don't have to think about playing all 6 strings the way you do your chords. Just think about the neighborhood you're in. That's all a CAGED system really is. So you can think of it like this, or the bottom part of it, which I still can't even do. Something like that. I would never use that. But this I use all the time because... Right, you can get to your 7 chord. There's a lot of things you can do. All right, let's look at where our Mixolydian scale is in reference to this G shape. Now remember, we're still playing a B chord. We're just in our G shape. So we've got a symmetrical thing happening here on strings 1 and 2. And then on string 3, we have those two notes. And now we're going to have another symmetrical thing happening on strings 4 and 5. And then our final note would be our pinky down here on the 7th fret 6th string. Make sure you have your fingers lined up correctly. That's another thing that makes this all work. You have to have the right finger over the right fret. Index finger over the 4th fret, middle finger over the 5th fret, ring finger over the 6th, and then pinky over the 7th. So practice just going through that Mixolydian scale. Right? And then connect it to the chord shape. So what I played here came right out of that Mixolydian scale. I started on the 2nd string, 4th fret, and then came up with my pinky to the 7th fret. So, and then we're up on the 1st string. So that's 4th fret, 5th fret. So all together. Now watch this. So it's just walking right down that pattern. And when I played that, I went. So it's a quick slide from the 7th fret to the 6th fret on the 3rd string. And then down to the 4th fret 3rd string. And then we're going to slide back up. We're going to come down to the 4th string, go to the 6th fret, and slide up to your 7th fret, and then hit strings 2 and 3 on the 4th fret. So all together it goes. And then slide back down. And actually when I hit that, I did strings 4 and 3 on the 4th fret. Now here's kind of one of the takeaways from this shape is this. That's a nice, really nice voicing of a 7 chord. So that would be a B7. So you can think about within your G shape here, you've got 2 really obvious ways to play the 7 chord. One is up here on the strings 1, 2, and 3, like that. That'd be like your A7, right? You just slide it up 2 frets. But it lives inside your G shape here. So that's 1, 7, and then you've got this one, which is down here. Sounds so cool. Now that would be a great little lick to just practice playing over and over again, just to get that, just to kind of loop it. Like this. Just to get that under your fingers. And you know, you could change the timing of it or whatever, but that's another nice lick that you can attach to that G shape. All right, let's keep moving up the fretboard. So now we're going to come up to our E shape. So we're still playing our B chord. All this time we've been playing the B chord, but now we're using the E shape. So these 3 fingers are the same as your E chord in first position. We're just capoing with our finger on the 7th fret, and we're up here in this position. What do we have in this position? Well, we've got our minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1. We know a lot of you know that. But when it comes to our Mixolydian scale, we can think of it like this. Now we could keep walking down if we wanted to, all the way down to the 6th string. But that's the piece that I'm really using out of it. And I started with this. Let's look at that. So I'm starting here on the 7th fret. The 9th fret, 4th string, which is my B note, and I hit it 3 times, and then I slid on strings 2 and 3. I slid them up into position. So all I'm doing is I'm going into my B chord here, right? Strings 2 and 3, but I slide into it. So, and then up to this note, which is in your Mixolydian scale, and then there's the flat 7. So, which is on the 10th fret, 2nd string. And then after that I played. I love that lick. It's a blues lick. It's 9th fret down to the 7th fret on the 2nd string, and then 7th fret, 3rd string. And then you push that a little bit sharp from the flat third into the major third. But you don't go all the way. It's sort of you're just pushing it a little sharp. Now this next lick goes like this. So again, walking right down that Mixolydian. So it starts up here on the 9th fret, 1st string. We go 9, 7, and then we're going to come down to the 10th. This will be on the 2nd string. We go 10, 9, 7. So, and then we're going to come down to the 3rd string. And we're going to go 9, back to our 7th fret, 2nd string. So, and then 7th fret, 3rd string again. And then down to that B note here, which is on the 9th fret, 4th string. So now all of that lives inside of my E shape. So all of these little ideas here are licks that you can connect into this neighborhood. And this is why I wanted to give you these lick ideas instead of just thinking about the CAGED system as being chords. It is chords. Obviously, it sort of starts with those chord shapes, but inside those shapes, you can connect scales and arpeggios, and it just gives you a way to sort of organize and know where you're at in the fretboard. The whole fretboard makes sense to me because of this CAGED system. So I'm going to end this part 1 video right there. We've gone through the first 3 patterns. Now, in the second video, we're going to go through the last 2. And we'll give some examples in each of those. And remember, if you're not a premium member, to look into it. In this lesson, you would have access to the tablature and the MP3 jam track. So you can just take all this information and start to practice it. And obviously, you would have access to all the lessons I've done. It's like 12, 13 years worth of them. You'd have access to all of those as well. So activemelody.com. Check it out if you haven't. And if you're interested in learning how to improvise, that's really what all these lessons are about. All right, we'll see you in part 2.